At 42, Daniel was embarrassed by how tired he was of trying to succeed, trying to stay relevant, trying to look like someone who still had everything under control. He felt like he was running a race he couldn't win, constantly out of breath and miles behind where he thought he should be. One gray autumn afternoon, during a business trip to Hangzhou he didn't even want to be on, he found himself wandering aimlessly. Tucked between two cold, modern buildings, he spotted a small, traditional tea house. It was a pocket of stillness in a bustling city. He stepped inside. The air was quiet. There was no music, no screens, just the gentle hum of water heating in a kettle. An elderly tea master, with a face full of calm wrinkles, gestured for him to sit at a simple wooden table. Daniel glanced at his watch. He had 15 minutes tops. He needed to get back and prepare for another meeting. The old man simply smiled, as if he already knew what Daniel was thinking. Without a word, he began the ritual of preparing tea. And it was slow, painfully slow, Daniel thought. He watched as the master rinsed the leaves, his movements deliberate and unhurried. He warmed the tiny porcelain cup with hot water, pouring it out and then carefully placing the leaves inside. He waited, watching the steam rise in a delicate curl. Daniel fidgeted, his leg bouncing under the table. The minutes were ticking by. Finally, his patience snapped. He let out an exasperated sigh. Isn't it ready yet? The tea master looked up from his work, his eyes kind. He said softly, "Ji, Fang, Arman." Daniel didn't understand. The old man translated, his voice gentle. "It means the more you rush, the slower you arrive." Daniel scoffed. "That might work for making tea," he said, a bit more harshly than he intended, "but that's not how life works. In my world, if you're slow, you get left behind." The old man didn't argue. He finished pouring the tea, the amber liquid filling the small cup, and slid it across the table toward Daniel. Then he asked a simple question. "Tell me, when did you start running so fast?" The question hit Daniel with unexpected force. He opened his mouth to give a quick answer but found himself pausing. He started talking about the endless deadlines, the pressure from his boss, the fear of being replaced by someone younger and faster. He talked about waking up in the morning already feeling exhausted, even after a full night's sleep. He confessed the deep-seated fear that if he ever stopped moving, even for a moment, his entire life would collapse around him like a house of cards. The tea master listened patiently, nodding as Daniel spoke. When Daniel finally fell silent, the old man spoke again. "You know, in Chinese philosophy we have a saying from the Tao Te Ching, 无为而无不为." Seeing Daniel's confused expression, he explained. "It means by not forcing, nothing is left undone. This doesn't mean you should do nothing at all. It means you shouldn't fight the natural rhythm of things. Think of a tree. A tree doesn't strain to grow. It doesn't panic about reaching the sunlight. It simply grows because it is rooted, because it follows its own nature." Daniel looked down at the cup of tea in his hands. He noticed, for the first time in what felt like years, its warmth seeping into his fingers. He felt the solidness of the cup, the gentle heat. The old man continued, his voice like a calm current. "Another teaching says, 行稳致远. Those who walk steadily go far." He looked at Daniel with profound kindness. "Your problem is not a lack of effort. You have plenty of that. Your problem is a lack of stillness. You are a boat fighting against the tide, burning all your fuel just to stay in place." Daniel stayed for much longer than 15 minutes. He stayed for over an hour, just sitting, sipping the tea, and listening. That evening, back in his hotel room, he made a choice. Instead of immediately opening his laptop to grind through more emails, he went for a walk along the famous West Lake. He just walked. He breathed in the cool night air. He let one unanswered email remain unanswered. And guess what? Nothing collapsed. The world didn't end. Weeks later, back in his own city, Daniel started to change small things. He began to work with focused attention instead of frantic panic. He started taking short 5-minute breaks to just breathe. He stopped measuring his self-worth by how quickly he could respond to a message. He learned to distinguish between when to push forward with all his might and when to pause, to wait, to let things unfold. The progress wasn't instant. It was slow and subtle. But it was deep. He started sleeping better. The constant tension in his shoulders began to ease. And for the first time in a very long time, Daniel felt like he wasn't just chasing his life anymore. He was actually living it. Thanks for watching.